A stranger in my father's life, the unexpected reunion, a family. Shattered by secrets. Nathan Hale sat behind the wheel of the car staring at the road ahead. The early morning sunlight filtered through the trees, casting long shadows on the pavement as he drove toward the kindergarten. The car was filled with the soft hum of the engine, and Zoe's voice broke through the silence. "Dad, why do we dream?" Nathan chuckled softly, glancing over at his 5-year-old daughter. Her bright eyes were wide with curiosity, as they always were when she asked him one of her profound, unexpected questions. Zoe had always been a thinker, the kind of child who saw the world differently, always pondering things beyond her years. "That's a good question, sweetie," Nathan replied, smiling as he kept his eyes on the road. "We dream because our brains keep working even when we're sleeping. It shows us pictures and stories about things we've seen, thought about, or felt during the day." Zoe frowned thoughtfully. "But why are dreams different for everyone?" "I had a dream about a princess and Johnny from kindergarten. Said he saw himself flying in a spaceship. Why do we dream different things?" Nathan's heart swelled with pride. It was moments like these when he realized just how special Zoe was. She wasn't just a child asking questions. She was a little philosopher, already trying to make sense of the world. "Well, we all think differently," Zoe, Nathan said, choosing his words carefully. "Everyone has different thoughts, desires, and experiences, so our dreams reflect that. That's why no two dreams are exactly the same." Zoe was silent for a moment, clearly processing his answer. "So our brains are always thinking, even when we're not dreaming," Nathan chuckled. "Exactly, sweetie. Our brains never stop. They're always working even when we don't realize it. They help us figure out things like how we should solve problems or how we feel about something." "It's pretty amazing, don't you think?" Zoe beamed at him, clearly satisfied with his answer. "Yeah, it is pretty cool," she said with a grin. "I guess I'll just keep dreaming then." Nathan smiled as he pulled into the parking lot of the kindergarten, his thoughts momentarily lifting from the heavy weight that had been on his mind for weeks. Zoe's innocent questions always had a way of lightening his heart, even if just for a moment. But as they walked into the school, the weight of his thoughts returned. The distance between him and Maya, his wife, had been growing. For weeks now, he'd noticed a subtle shift in her behavior. Maya had been avoiding eye contact, brushing off his attempts to talk, and even their small interactions felt strained. He'd tried to ignore it, blaming it on stress or life's demands, but deep down, he knew something was wrong. Nathan loved Maya deeply. They'd met in college, and their love story had always felt like something from a movie. They'd married young, and their dreams had always aligned, their plans to open a small business together. The organic food store they had talked about for years. It was supposed to be their next big adventure, but now the weight of her silence, her hesitance to confide in him, was eating away at him. He shook his head, trying to shake the doubts creeping into his mind. "It's nothing," he told himself. "It's just stress. I'll talk to her later, everything will be fine." But deep down, Nathan felt like he was standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into an unknown abyss. As Zoe ran off to join her classmates, Nathan found himself watching her interact with the other children. Her bright energy, her laughter, it was all so pure, so full of life. It reminded him of the simpler times in his own childhood, the days when everything seemed possible, when a person could have dreams without the weight of responsibilities clouding them. But reality had a way of creeping back in. He had just come from a meeting with his boss, where the stress of work had compounded his unease about his family. As the weeks went by, it seemed like Maya's distance only grew, and Nathan had no idea how to bridge the gap. He thought back to the early days of their relationship, when things were easier, when Maya was vibrant, when they laughed together in their small college apartment, when their future seemed full of possibility. But those days seemed far behind them now. "Maybe I'm just being paranoid," Nathan muttered to himself, his eyes following Zoe as she laughed with her new friends. But no matter how much he tried to dismiss the feeling, he couldn't shake the thought that something was amiss. Later that evening after dinner, Nathan tried to bring it up again. He waited for the right moment as they both sat in the living room. Zoe tucked into bed, her little face peaceful as she slept. Maya. Nathan began, his voice soft but steady. I've been feeling like we're drifting apart lately. You haven't been yourself. I'm worried. Maya didn't respond right away. She stared at the TV, her face unreadable. Nathan waited, his heart racing. This wasn't just about a bad day at work or stress. He was afraid this was something deeper. I'm fine, Nathan, Maya finally said, her voice distant. It's just a lot going on. You know how it is. Nathan reached out, taking her hand. Maya, talk to me. Whatever it is, we can work through it. We always do. But Maya pulled her hand back, her expression faltering. I'm just tired, okay? Tired of everything. Her words hit him like a ton of bricks. Tired of everything. The words stung, but he didn't have time to respond, because before he could open his mouth, Maya stood up, walking toward their bedroom, without another word. Nathan sat there, the weight of her silence hanging between them. He had no answers, no idea what to do next. And for the first time in their marriage, he didn't know if everything would be okay. The weight of unspoken truths. Nathan lay awake in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing. He had been trying to figure out what had gone wrong, but every time he reached for an answer, it slipped away like sand through his fingers. The distance between him and Maya had been growing for weeks now, but tonight felt different. Tonight, something in her eyes told him that, whatever it was much bigger than just stress. Maya's silence weighed heavily on him. It was one thing to feel distant, to have rough days, but it was another to feel like you were living with a stranger in your own home. Nathan rolled over, glancing at her sleeping form beside him. Her back was turned to him, a subtle but undeniable signal of how far apart they had become. The bed felt colder than usual, and Nathan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. As he stared at the darkened ceiling, his thoughts turned to his own childhood and the memories of his parents' turbulent marriage. He could still remember that day so clearly, the day his father's temper had shattered their family forever, the day his father had hit his mother. Nathan had been just a boy, standing there in the doorway, unable to fully comprehend the horror of what he had witnessed. But now as an adult he could understand all too well. The anger, the cruelty, the fear, it all made sense now. His father's actions had torn their family apart, leaving Nathan to grow up with his father's cold, judgmental eyes and his mother's broken heart. And now, as an adult, Nathan found himself standing on the edge of a similar precipice. His own marriage, which had once seemed so strong, was now teetering on the edge of something he couldn't quite grasp. Maya's coldness, her withdrawal, her refusal to talk. Nathan had seen all of it before in his mother's silent suffering, and it terrified him. The last thing he wanted was to repeat the cycle of pain that had haunted his family for generations. I won't let it happen, Nathan whispered to himself, the words barely audible in the stillness of the night. But deep down, he wasn't so sure anymore. The next morning, things were no better. Nathan could feel the tension in the air. As soon as he woke up, Maya was already out of bed, standing at the kitchen counter, her back to him as she prepared breakfast. Zoe was humming softly at the table, already dressed and eating her cereal, but there was no warmth in the room. No smiles. No laughter. Nathan forced a smile as he walked into the kitchen, trying to break the silence. Good morning, Zoe, he said, leaning down to kiss her cheek. Zoe looked up at him and smiled, her innocence, a stark contrast to the growing uncertainty in Nathan's heart. Good morning, Daddy, Zoe said brightly, her eyes sparkling with the same curiosity that had always fascinated Nathan. But as he glanced at Maya standing stiffly by the counter, he felt a tightness in his chest. Maya. Nathan started, his voice gentle but firm. We need to talk about last night. Maya didn't respond immediately. She just kept chopping vegetables, her movements robotic. Nathan felt a pang of frustration. Maya, please, I'm not going to pretend everything's fine. I can't keep ignoring this. Finally. Maya turned to face him, her expression unreadable. "Nathan, I don't have the energy for this right now. Can we just get through the day? Zoe's already worried, and I don't want to make it worse." "I'm not trying to make it worse," Nathan said, his voice low, "but pretending everything is okay is only making it harder. I need to know what's going on, Maya. I need to understand." Maya's shoulders slumped, and for a moment, Nathan thought she might finally open up, but instead, she turned back to the stove, her back once again to him. "There's nothing to understand," she muttered. Nathan's heart sank. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was being hidden from him, and as much as he wanted to deny it, the thought that his wife might be keeping secrets from him filled him with dread. Zoe, sensing the shift in the air, looked up at her parents with wide eyes. "Daddy, why are you and Mommy not talking? Is everything okay?" Nathan's gaze softened as he looked at his daughter, who had become the unintentional messenger of their broken silence. He forced a smile, trying to reassure her. "Everything's fine, sweetheart," he said, though his voice lacked the conviction he wished it had. Maya still not looking at Nathan sighed. "We're just figuring things out. Nothing for you to worry about." But Zoe wasn't convinced. "I know you guys always figure things out, just like when you helped me with my homework, or when you fixed the sink. You always make things better." Nathan swallowed hard, the weight of her innocent words pressing down on him. Zoe was right. They always figured things out. But this was different. Whatever it was that Maya was hiding, it wasn't something they could easily fix with a few kind words or a shared laugh. As Nathan watched his daughter eat her breakfast, the knot in his stomach tightened. He wanted to be the father Zoe thought he was. He wanted to be the husband Maya needed. But more than anything, he wanted to protect his family from the same kind of pain he had witnessed as a child. The kind of pain that never really goes away. That evening after dinner, Nathan decided he couldn't wait any longer. He had to know what was going on. He couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine. He needed answers. "Please, Maya," Nathan said, his voice softer now, but still filled with a sense of urgency. "I need to know. You're scaring me, and I can't keep going like this." Maya finally looked at him, her eyes filled with sorrow. "I'm scared, Nathan," she whispered. "I don't know how to tell you what's been happening." The words hung in the air, heavy with the unspoken truth. Nathan's heart raced as he waited for her to continue, his breath caught in his chest. He didn't know what she was going to say, but he knew that whatever it was, it would change everything. The truth comes crashing down. Nathan sat at the kitchen table that night, his hands clenched around the mug of coffee, the heat doing little to soothe the cold that had crept into his bones. Maya had finally admitted she was hiding something, but her words had done little to ease the turmoil inside him. She was scared. He could see it in her eyes. Whatever it was, it had a hold on her, and Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that it had something to do with the secret she was keeping. After dinner, he had tried to press her, but Maya had insisted on getting some rest. She said she needed time to process everything. Time to figure things out, as she put it. Nathan had reluctantly agreed to give her space, though the gnawing feeling in his chest told him that something was terribly wrong. It wasn't just about the distance between them anymore. It wasn't just about the silent treatment, or the way Maya refused to look at him like she used to. It was about something much deeper. Zoe had been quiet too. The innocent questions, the endless curiosity that usually filled their home with laughter had all but disappeared. She had sensed the tension between her parents. She wasn't a child anymore. She could feel when things weren't right. The subtle signs, the little moments of hesitation, the absence of the warmth that usually surrounded them. Nathan didn't want to admit it, but Zoe was no longer the oblivious child she had been just a few months ago. She was becoming perceptive, intuitive. Maya had always been the emotional backbone of their family. She had been the glue that held everything together when life seemed to unravel. But now there was a crack in that glue. It had started small just a few weeks ago when she'd begun acting distant. She would go out on long walks claiming she needed air, but Nathan could see the tension in her shoulders when she returned. She would leave little details of her day unspoken, things that used to be so important to share. The distance had grown slowly but surely, until it had consumed their lives. It was early the next morning when Maya finally agreed to talk. "Sit down," she said, her voice softer than usual, but there was a certain finality in it that sent a shiver down Nathan's spine. He could see the struggle in her eyes, the weight of whatever it was she had been carrying. Nathan nodded and sat at the table, his heart pounding. "Maya, you said you're scared. I'm here. You can tell me anything." Maya took a deep breath, as if gathering every ounce of strength she had left, and then she spoke the words that Nathan had feared. "There's someone else," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan's stomach dropped. The words hit him like a freight train, leaving him stunned and speechless. For a moment, he couldn't even breathe. His mind raced, trying to process what she had just said. "Someone else," he repeated, his voice hoarse. Maya nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "It's not what you think, Nathan. I didn't mean for this to happen, but it did. I've been seeing someone. It's been going on for a few months now, and I couldn't keep lying to you. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine." Nathan's chest tightened, and he felt the weight of her confession settle on him like a mountain. His breath caught in his throat, and for a moment he couldn't speak. He had never imagined this. Not in a million years. I don't know what to say." Nathan finally managed. His voice trembled as the words left his lips, the pain and disbelief seeping into every syllable. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" Maya wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, clearly exhausted from the weight of the secret she had been carrying. "I was scared. Nathan, I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to hurt you. But I couldn't keep hiding it. I never wanted this to happen. I didn't want to fall for him. It just happened, and now I don't know how to fix it." Nathan could feel the room spinning, his mind grappling with the reality of what he was hearing. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't just a slip-up. Maya had chosen to keep it a secret for months, and that hurt more than anything. It felt like everything he had built, everything he had trusted was crumbling in front of him. And the photo, the one that Stephanie saw in my wallet, Nathan asked, his voice barely a whisper. Maya froze. "What photo?" "The nurse." "Maya, the one Stephanie recognized." "The one she said she saw in my wallet." Nathan could barely get the words out. He wasn't sure why it hurt so much to say it, but the thought of his daughter seeing a picture of this woman, of her, recognizing something that Nathan hadn't even known, made his heart ache. Maya's face turned pale, and she sat back, her body stiffening. "I don't know how that happened," she said softly. "I never put her picture in your wallet, Nathan, but I think I know who you're talking about." Nathan's heart raced again. "Who is she?" Maya's voice wavered as she spoke. "Her name is Claire. She's the one I've been seeing." The words sent a wave of nausea through Nathan's stomach. He had suspected something was off, but to hear it confirmed like this, to have the truth laid bare in front of him, it was unbearable. And yet there was still more to the story, more that Maya hadn't said yet. "Why, Maya? Why couldn't you just tell me?" Nathan whispered, feeling the weight of her betrayal like an anchor pulling him deeper into the abyss. I didn't know how," Maya said, her voice cracking, "and then it got too complicated. I didn't want to lose you, Nathan. I didn't want to lose this family, but I was already losing myself. I thought I could fix it, that it would just go away, but it didn't. And now I don't know what to do. I've hurt you in a way I never thought I would." Nathan sat there in silence, trying to process everything she had said. His mind couldn't seem to catch up with the torrent of emotions crashing over him. He had always prided himself on being a good husband, a good father, and now it felt like everything he had worked for was slipping through his fingers. His heart broke for Maya, for herself, for what she had been hiding. But it also shattered for his family, for Zoe, for the life they had built together. Nathan felt a heavy silence fall between them, the weight of their fractured relationship pressing down on both of them. But before he could respond, Maya spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry, Nathan. I never meant to hurt you. I wish I could go back and fix it, but I can't. I don't know what to do now." The words echoed in Nathan's ears, but they offered no comfort. How could they? How could anything fix this? How could he ever look at Maya the same way again? How could he trust her after everything that had been revealed? And yet Nathan knew one thing for certain. The road ahead was going to be harder than anything he had ever faced. The only question now was whether he could still find a way to fix what had been broken. The crossroads of forgiveness. Nathan sat in the quiet of the living room, the harsh words Maya had spoken still echoing in his mind. The image of Claire, the woman he had never met, kept resurfacing in his thoughts. The woman Maya had been hiding, the woman his daughter had recognized in his wallet. The weight of the reality was almost too much to bear. Zoe had already gone to bed, blissfully unaware of the storm that was raging inside the house. She had noticed the tension between her parents. Of course, kids always notice those things, but she was too young to understand the full scope of what was happening. Nathan didn't want to burden her with this. Not yet, anyway. The pain of seeing his daughter confused about her parents' relationship was something he wasn't ready to handle. And then Maya had walked into the room again, her footsteps slow and heavy, like the weight of the world was pressing on her shoulders. She stood in the doorway for a moment, not speaking, just watching him. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her makeup smudged from the emotional breakdown they'd had earlier. "Nathan," she said softly, breaking the silence. "I know I've hurt you in ways I can't even explain, and I know you're angry and you have every right to be, but I'm asking you to listen to me, please." Nathan didn't respond at first. He couldn't. The betrayal was too raw. But then as he sat there looking at the woman he thought he knew so well, the question that had been plaguing his mind came spilling out of his mouth. "Why Maya?" His voice cracked, the anger hurt, and confusion all mixing together into a raw, guttural sound. "Why did you do this to us? To me? We've been through so much together. I thought we were okay. You and me. I thought we were stronger than this." Maya's breath hitched in her chest, her fingers trembling as she reached for a seat. She sat down slowly, her eyes never leaving Nathan's. She seemed as if she were struggling to find the words, as though she had rehearsed this conversation in her head 1,000 times. But now that the moment had arrived, the words felt inadequate. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," she said, tears spilling down her face again. "I never meant to hurt you, Nathan. It started off so small, just little moments of someone caring, someone noticing me. But then it turned into something I couldn't control, and I didn't know how to stop it." Nathan's chest tightened as he listened to her words. Someone noticing me. The thought lingered in his mind like a poison. Was that all this was? A moment of weakness, a need for validation that he had somehow failed to give her. "Did you ever think about us?" Nathan asked, his voice growing steady despite the pain. "Did you think about me? About Zoe? About this family?" Maya's eyes flickered, as if the question had hit her harder than she expected. She opened her mouth to respond but hesitated. "I did, Nathan," she whispered. "But when you're lost in something, when you're struggling to understand who you are anymore, everything else fades. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want to hurt us, but I felt like I was losing myself and I don't know how I let this happen." Nathan felt a pang of something deeper than hurt sympathy. Maya had always been the strong one, the one who held everything together, the one who protected their family. And now sitting in front of him, she was a shell of the woman he had once known. The woman who had kept their world intact was now the one responsible for tearing it apart. "Maya," Nathan began, his voice softening, "I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. What you've done, it feels like a betrayal. I'll never be able to forget." The room fell silent, the air thick with the weight of their emotions. Maya nodded slowly, understanding the gravity of his words. There was nothing she could say to fix this. No apology could make up for the trust she had broken, for the lies she had woven. "I know," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I don't expect you to forgive me right now. I don't even know if I'll ever be able to forgive myself." Nathan's heart ached as he stared at her. The woman he had loved for so long was sitting across from him, a stranger now. It was hard to reconcile the image of the person he thought he knew with the reality of who she had become. But even through the anger, the pain, and the confusion, he could still see the woman who had been his partner, his equal. The woman who had stood beside him through everything. "I don't know what we do now," he said quietly, his eyes locking with hers. "I can't promise that things will go back to the way they were, but we have to figure this out for Zoe's sake, if nothing else." Maya nodded, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "I'll do whatever it takes, Nathan. I'll do anything. I just need you to give me a chance to make this right. I know it's going to take time. I know it's going to be hard, but I'm willing to fight for us if you'll let me." Nathan looked at her, the conflict raging inside him. Part of him wanted to shut her out, to walk away from the pain she had caused him, but another part of him, the part that still loved her, despite everything, knew that healing wouldn't come from running away. It would come from facing this together, no matter how difficult it was. "I'm not sure what forgiveness looks like yet," he said, the words heavy with uncertainty. "But I'm willing to try for Zoe, for us." Maya's face softened as the weight of his words settled in. She reached across the table and took his hand in hers, her grip tight as if she were afraid to let go. "Thank you," she whispered. "I promise you won't regret it." And for the first time in weeks, Nathan felt a flicker of hope. It wasn't much, but it was enough to hold on to. They had a long road ahead of them, but it was a road they would walk together, step by painful step. The shattered mirror. The silence in the house had never felt so heavy. Nathan could feel it press down on him, a constant reminder that things were far from normal. His eyes kept drifting toward the kitchen, where Maya was busy cleaning up, the rhythmic sound of plates clinking against each other, echoing in the otherwise quiet house. There was a part of him that wanted to feel anger, wanted to shout, to demand answers. But instead, he found himself just numb. He thought about the life they had built together, the dreams, the hopes, the moments when they had laughed until their stomachs hurt. He thought about Zoe, their beautiful daughter, whose innocence and love had always been a beacon in their lives. How could all of that have been upended so easily? How could Maya have betrayed him like this? Sitting down on the couch, Nathan rubbed his temples, trying to push away the migraine that was forming. He glanced at the picture on the mantel, the one of their small family at the beach, all smiles and sunlight. It seemed like a different life now. The future he had imagined for them, so perfect, so secure, felt like a fragile illusion shattered by a single moment of weakness. Zoe's voice brought him back to the present. "Daddy, can we play a game?" she asked, her small face peeking around the corner. Nathan smiled weakly. "Not right now, sweetheart," he replied, his voice hoarse. "Daddy needs to think for a little while." Zoe's brow furrowed and she walked over to him, sitting beside him on the couch. "Are you sad, Daddy?" He hadn't realized that his emotions were so visible, that his daughter could read him so well. "I'm okay, Zoe," he said, forcing a smile. "Just a little tired, that's all." But Zoe wasn't convinced. She tilted her head, her big brown eyes watching him intently. "Mommy told me you and her are having a big talk tonight. Is everything okay?" Nathan's heart dropped. Maya had already started explaining things to Zoe in her own way, trying to soften the blow without fully revealing the truth. She was trying to protect their daughter from the chaos in their marriage. But Nathan couldn't help but feel betrayed by the fact that he wasn't part of the conversation. "I don't know, sweetheart," Nathan finally admitted, his voice cracking. "Things aren't great right now, but we'll work it out. You don't need to worry." Zoe snuggled closer, her little arms wrapping around him. "I don't like when you and Mommy fight. It makes me sad." Nathan's heart ached. How could he explain this to her? How could he tell his little girl that the world she knew, the security she had taken for granted, was crumbling? He had no answers, no way to make her understand. Just then Maya came into the room, her footsteps hesitant. She had been avoiding him all day and Nathan had been doing the same. But now it was clear that the time had come. It was time to confront the unspeakable, to face the truth that had been hanging between them like a thick fog. "Nathan," she said softly, standing a few feet away. "We need to talk." Nathan didn't look at her immediately. His gaze was fixed on Zoe, who was now clinging to his side, sensing the tension in the room. He wanted to be strong, to put on the face of the father, the protector. But inside he was torn. He didn't know what to feel, what to say. His love for Maya was still there, but it was tainted, fractured. How could he forgive her when his own heart felt so broken? "Are you sure, Maya?" Nathan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Are you really sure we should talk now? After everything?" Maya nodded, her eyes filled with a quiet sorrow. "I know I've made mistakes," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "But I want to make things right. I need to fix this. I need you to know that I love you and Zoe more than anything in the world. I made a huge mistake, Nathan, and I'll spend every day for the rest of my life trying to prove that I'm sorry." Nathan closed his eyes, rubbing his temples once more. The weight of her words was suffocating. He didn't know if he could forgive her, not yet. But he knew one thing: their daughter needed them both. They needed to find a way to coexist, to move forward, even if it was painfully slow. He looked up at Maya, meeting her gaze for the first time that day. There was no anger in his eyes now, only exhaustion. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Maya. Not yet. But I'll try. For Zoe. I'll try." Maya stepped closer, her eyes searching his face for any sign of hope. She reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. "That's all I ask, Nathan. Just give me a chance to show you that I'm not the person who hurt you. I'm not that person anymore." For a long moment neither of them spoke. The silence was deafening, and then almost in unison they both turned their attention to Zoe, who had been watching them silently the entire time. Her big brown eyes were filled with confusion, but there was a glimmer of understanding there as well. She may not have fully understood what was going on, but she knew that something had shifted, and she could feel the weight of it. "We'll get through this, Zoe," Nathan said softly, pulling her into his arms. "We'll figure it out." And for the first time in days he allowed himself to believe it. Just for a moment, he allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, the shattered pieces of their life could be put back together. The edge of forgiveness. The days that followed were nothing short of a delicate balancing act. Nathan felt the weight of each decision hanging over him like a cloud he couldn't shake. Every morning as the sun poured into their bedroom, he was reminded of what had been lost and what was still at stake. He wanted to believe that things could go back to normal, that their family could be whole again. But part of him wasn't sure if that was even possible anymore. It wasn't the lack of love between him and Maya that troubled him most. No, their love for each other had never truly disappeared. It was more the deep fracture caused by betrayal, the silent rift that now existed between them. Could a couple recover from something like this? Could the echoes of trust once shattered ever be rebuilt? Maya had been trying. She was doing everything she could to show him she was sorry, to prove that she was worthy of his trust. She kept the house in order, organized Zoe's activities, and kept herself busy. But there was something in her eyes, a quiet desperation that Nathan couldn't ignore. It made him feel like he was drowning in her need for validation, her need for forgiveness. And in the back of his mind, he kept wondering if it was enough. It was the weekends that hit him hardest. On Saturdays, when the world felt a little quieter and their lives were stripped of the distractions of work and responsibilities, the truth of their situation felt undeniable. It was on these days that Nathan had the most time to think, time to confront the silent war waging inside him. Today was no different. He sat in the backyard alone, watching Zoe as she played with her dolls on the grass. Her giggles echoed in the open air, and for a moment, Nathan felt a fleeting sense of peace. This was what he had always dreamed of: a happy family. But now as he looked at her, he couldn't help but wonder if his daughter would one day look back on this time and feel the same sense of loss that he did now. Maya came outside holding 2 cups of coffee in her hands. She sat down beside him, offering him one of the cups. Nathan took it, his fingers brushing hers briefly. The touch felt both familiar and foreign, like a connection that had been weakened by time, yet still there lingering. "Thank you," Nathan muttered, taking a sip. The coffee was warm, just the way he liked it. For a moment, it almost felt like everything was okay. Like they were a normal couple again, sharing a quiet moment. But he couldn't shake the knot in his stomach, the constant gnawing feeling that things were not okay, that they hadn't been for a long time. Maya sat there silently for a few moments before speaking. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened," she said softly. "I know I hurt you, Nathan. I can't take that back. But I want you to know that I never wanted to destroy our family." Nathan didn't respond immediately. He didn't know how to. What was he supposed to say? That he understood? That he was willing to forgive? In truth, he didn't know if he was ready for that. "I know," he said, after a long pause, his voice barely above a whisper. "But it feels like there's this distance between us now, like we're 2 strangers trying to pretend everything's okay. I don't know if I can just forget what happened." "Maya, it's not that simple." Maya's eyes filled with sadness, and she took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I know it's not. But I'm here. I'm here trying every single day to show you that I am sorry, that I want to rebuild what we had." Nathan turned to face her, his eyes searching her face. He could see the sincerity there. He could see the pain in her expression. But he could also see the emptiness in his own heart. How could they move forward if the trust between them had been broken so profoundly? "I want to believe you," Nathan said quietly. "I really do. But it's hard when the person you trusted the most is the one who hurt you." The words hit Maya like a slap, but she didn't flinch. She knew this was the truth. She had been the one who had caused this rift. She had betrayed his trust, and now all she could do was try to repair what she had broken. "I understand," Maya whispered, "and I'll keep trying. But I can't fix this alone. I need you, Nathan. I need us to work through this together." Nathan looked away, his gaze falling on Zoe as she stood up and waved at them. Her dolls forgotten as she ran towards them. She smiled brightly, her innocence lighting up the space between them. For a moment, Nathan forgot about the tension, about the pain, and he smiled back at her. "Dad, look, I made a new family," Zoe exclaimed, showing them the little scene she had set up on the grass. A family of dolls, just like their own. Nathan's heart tightened. He nodded, trying to push the lump in his throat away. "It's beautiful, Zoe," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Zoe giggled and ran back to her toys, her laughter filling the air once more. Maya turned to look at Nathan, her eyes searching his face. This was the hardest part. The part where he had to decide if he was willing to forgive and move forward, or if the hurt would be too much to overcome. "I don't want Zoe to grow up thinking that love isn't enough," Maya said quietly, almost as if to herself. "I don't want her to believe that a broken heart can't be healed." Nathan's heart ached at her words. He wanted to believe that love could heal this. He wanted to believe that their family could be whole again. But there was a lingering doubt, a fear that perhaps their marriage had been irreparably damaged. "Love can heal," Nathan said softly, his eyes never leaving Zoe as she played. "But it takes time, and it takes effort from both of us." Maya nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. She reached out to take his hand, her grip tight, desperate. "I'll do whatever it takes, Nathan, I swear I will." Nathan squeezed her hand, back his mind racing. Could he ever truly forgive her? Could he ever let go of the hurt that had been caused? For now, all he could do was take it one step at a time. He wasn't ready to forgive her fully, not yet, but he was willing to try. For their family. For Zoe. Maya sat in the living room, the soft glow of the desk lamp casting a calming light around her. She tried to steady her racing thoughts, but the unsettling feeling about Nathan kept creeping into her mind. All day long, she'd been hearing too many questions and noticing strange signals from people around her, yet she couldn't pinpoint exactly what was bothering her. The constant unease she felt seemed to stem from Nathan's behavior. Was it his aloofness when she asked certain questions, or the sudden change in how he reacted to her affection? Maya couldn't shake the thought that something was being hidden from her, something significant. Just then, the doorbell rang. She wasn't expecting anyone at this hour. A sense of anticipation fluttered in her chest as she rose to answer the door. When she opened it, there stood Sophie, an old friend from her past. They hadn't spoken in years. Sophie looked the same, though her eyes seemed to carry a weight of experiences Maya had yet to understand. "Hi, Maya." Sophie said, her voice softer than Maya remembered. "I need to talk to you. It's important." Maya blinked in surprise. "Sophie, what's going on? Why are you here after all this time?" Sophie took a deep breath as if gathering courage before stepping inside. They sat down on the couch, and for a few moments there was an awkward silence. Maya could tell Sophie was trying to decide how to start, as though the weight of the information she was about to reveal was too much to bear. Finally, Sophie spoke. "I didn't want to bring this up, especially now, but I think you need to know I met Nathan once a while ago, before you two started dating." Maya's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean you met Nathan before?" Sophie nodded, her eyes fixed on the floor. "Yes, Maya, it was a few years ago at an event. A mutual friend of ours was hosting a gathering and Nathan was there. We spoke for a bit and—" She hesitated, her lips trembling slightly as she looked at Maya. "And we had a private conversation, one that I'm sure Nathan hasn't mentioned to you." Maya felt her pulse quicken. "What do you mean? What conversation?" Sophie shifted uncomfortably on the couch. "It wasn't just a casual chat. We had a deeper connection, Maya. He told me things about himself that I don't think he's shared with you. Things that make me wonder if he's being entirely honest with you." Maya's breath caught in her throat. "What kind of things? What exactly did he say?" Sophie's voice dropped lower, the words coming out in a whisper, as though she feared someone might overhear. "He talked about his past things. He seemed to regret people he'd hurt. But there was one thing he said that stuck with me. He mentioned how he had been with someone else before you, someone who had shaped him into the person he is now, Maya." The way he spoke, it didn't sound like he was over them, and I don't think he's fully over whatever happened between them. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. Her mind raced, piecing together the fragments of information she had about Nathan. All the times he'd seemed distant, the moments when she felt like there was something unsaid between them. Sophie continued, her voice trembling. "I know it's not easy to hear, but I think Nathan has kept some things from you, and I think you deserve to know the truth. Maya, I saw the way he looked at me back then. It was almost like he was testing the waters. I know he wasn't in a relationship at the time, but it still doesn't sit right with me." Maya's head was spinning. She couldn't focus on the words Sophie had said. Her thoughts tangled in a web of doubt and confusion. How could Nathan have kept something like this from her? Had everything they'd built been built on a lie? "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Maya asked, her voice barely above a whisper, the weight of the conversation sinking in. Sophie sighed, her face filled with regret. "I didn't want to cause trouble. Maya, I thought it was just a one-time thing, something that didn't matter anymore, but after seeing how things have been between you and Nathan, I couldn't keep it to myself anymore. I needed to tell you." Maya stood up, pacing around the room, her mind reeling. She felt a surge of emotions: anger, betrayal, confusion. She couldn't ignore the gnawing feeling that had been growing inside her, the suspicion that Nathan wasn't being truthful. "I can't believe this," Maya muttered, running her hands through her hair. "I need to talk to him. I need to know what's going on." Sophie stood and put a hand on Maya's shoulder, offering her a comforting squeeze. "I'm sorry to drop this on you, especially like this, but I think you have the right to ask him the hard questions. You deserve the truth." Maya nodded, though her heart was heavy. she couldn't deny the unease creeping into her chest. Was Nathan really the man she thought he was, or had she been blind to the truth all along? As Sophie left, Maya stood there staring at the door, her mind consumed with the questions that had no easy answers. Nathan's past, his secrets, his lies. What did it all mean for their future? Would she ever truly know him, or had she been living in the shadow of a man who wasn't who he seemed? Maya knew one thing for sure. She had to find out, for her own peace of mind and for the future of her relationship with Nathan. But the path ahead was uncertain, and she couldn't help but wonder what other secrets was Nathan hiding. The truth comes crashing down. Maya sat alone in her apartment, the hum of the refrigerator in the background, the only sound in the otherwise silent space. The conversation with Sophie replayed over and over in her mind, the words echoing in her thoughts, like an unsettling whisper. Nathan met someone else in the past. They had a secret meeting. Her heart raced as she sifted through the details. Sophie had been adamant that Nathan wasn't as innocent as he appeared. A secret meeting. Maya's mind was working overtime trying to connect the dots. Could Nathan really be hiding something from me? It wasn't just Sophie's words that haunted her. It was the look in her eyes, the quiet certainty that Maya could feel even through the phone call. Sophie wasn't the type to stir trouble. If she said something, it had to be true. Maya had always thought her relationship with Nathan was built on honesty. They'd shared so much together, laughter, tears, dreams for the future. But now doubts clawed at her from every angle. Was she just another person in Nathan's life? Or was there something more? Her phone buzzed on the coffee table, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a message from Nathan. "Hey, I was thinking of us grabbing dinner tonight. How does your favorite restaurant sound?" Maya stared at the message, her fingers hovering over the screen. She wanted to respond, wanted to feel that sense of excitement she once did when Nathan's name flashed on her phone. But now there was a wall between them, a wall built from questions she had no answers to. Could she ignore the suspicions? Could she pretend everything was okay? Or was she being foolish? She set her phone down and walked over to the window. Outside, the city buzzed with life, people rushing from place to place, each absorbed in their own world. Maya's mind, on the other hand, felt like it was spinning out of control. What if this was a lie? What if Nathan had been lying to her all along? There was only one way to find out. Maya spent the next few hours replaying every moment she had shared with Nathan. She thought about their first date, the way he smiled at her, how she had felt safe in his arms. But then the images of him meeting someone in secret, of him hiding things from her, started to cloud those memories. It hurt more than she expected. The restaurant that night felt like a distant place, a memory. She had agreed to meet Nathan, but it wasn't for dinner. It was for answers. She wasn't going to let things go any longer. She needed to know if her doubts were grounded in truth or if they were just her mind running wild. When Maya walked into the restaurant, she was met with Nathan's warm smile. But something in his eyes didn't look the same. He was acting just a little bit off. Maya noticed how he shifted uncomfortably in his seat when she sat down across from him, the usual playful banter between them absent. "Hey, how's your day been?" Nathan asked, trying to sound casual, but Maya could sense the tension in his voice. "It's been fine," she replied, forcing a smile. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it. "But I need to ask you something, Nathan." Nathan's eyes widened, a nervous laugh escaping his lips. "Sure, anything. What's on your mind?" Maya didn't waste time. "Sophie told me something today. She said that you had a meeting with someone, a secret meeting, a few months ago. What was that about?" Nathan froze. For a split second, his face betrayed him. The smile that usually came so easily to him disappeared, and he looked at her, eyes wide, mouth opening and closing as if he didn't know what to say. "Maya, I can explain," Nathan stammered, his voice low. "It's not what you think." Maya leaned forward, her hands clenched on the table. "Then what is it, Nathan? Because right now, I'm not sure I believe anything you say." Nathan glanced around the restaurant, his eyes darting nervously. He wasn't ready to tell her everything, but he knew he couldn't keep hiding it. There was a certain weight in the air now, the kind that shifted between them and made everything feel more real. I didn't want you to find out this way, he said, his voice cracking a little. But Maya, there's something I need to tell you. As Maya sat there, her chest tightening with every passing second, she wondered if she was ready to hear the truth. Because no matter what Nathan said next, she knew it was going to change everything between them. What did he have to say? Was it a confession, a lie, or something in between? She steeled herself for what was to come. And Nathan finally exhaled deeply, his shoulders slumping as he met her gaze. I met someone. He said, his voice barely above a whisper. But I swear, Maya, it didn't mean anything. It was just a mistake, and I didn't know how to tell you I was scared. The breaking point. The silence between them hung heavily in the air, thick with the weight of Nathan's admission. Maya's mind was racing, the words that had just escaped his lips, sinking in deeper with every passing second. He met someone. He lied to me. The hurt burned through her chest sharper than she ever thought it could be. Nathan's face was pale, his hands fidgeting with the napkin on the table, avoiding her gaze. He could sense the storm brewing inside her, but he didn't know how to stop it. He wanted to explain, to apologize, but his words felt hollow in his throat. Maya took a long, shaky breath, her hands trembling as she gripped the edge of the table. The sting of betrayal was unlike anything she had ever felt before. How could he do this to me? So this secret meeting, you've been hiding this from me. Maya's voice was quiet, but there was an edge to it, a coldness that surprised even her. She wasn't sure where it was coming from, but the tears she was desperately holding back felt like a dam ready to break. Nathan opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. He wanted to reach across the table and hold her hand to tell her how much he regretted everything, but he couldn't. The guilt was suffocating him, and the hurt in her eyes made him feel smaller than he ever had before. Why didn't you tell me? Nathan Maya's voice broke, her eyes searching his, looking for any sign of honesty, of regret that went beyond the surface. Why keep it a secret? If you truly loved me, wouldn't you have come to me first? I would have understood. Nathan finally met her gaze, and there was a flicker of anguish in his eyes. Maya, I swear to you, it wasn't about love. It wasn't about her. It was a stupid mistake, and I was scared to tell you. I didn't want to lose you. Lose me! Maya scoffed, her voice shaking with a mix of disbelief and hurt. You didn't think telling me the truth would lose me. You didn't think hiding something so important would make me feel like I don't even know who you are. Nathan's face twisted in frustration, but also in remorse. I never meant to hurt you. I never thought it would go this far. It was just a moment of weakness, and I regret it every day. Maya leaned back in her chair, the pain almost unbearable now. She stared at him, her heart aching with every beat. Was this really the person she thought she knew? Was this the man she trusted with her love, with her life? The room felt suffocating as Maya closed her eyes, trying to regain control. How could I have been so blind? She couldn't stop the thoughts from spiraling. This whole time, I thought he was the one I could count on. But I don't know him anymore. I don't know what to believe. Maya, Nathan began, his voice cracking. Please, I'm begging you. Don't walk away from me. I love you. I don't want to lose us over this. I'll do anything. Just give me a chance to make it right. Maya opened her eyes, her gaze distant, and for a moment she just stared at him. The man who once seemed perfect, who she thought she'd spend forever with, was now a stranger in her eyes. Everything they had, everything she believed in, felt like it was slipping away in an instant. Do you love me, Nathan? Maya asked, her voice small, as if the question itself terrified her. Nathan nodded quickly, his hands reaching across the table, desperate to hold hers. Of course I do. I've always loved you, Maya. I made a mistake, but that doesn't change how I feel about you. The words sounded rehearsed, and that's what made Maya's heart twist even more. They sounded empty, like he was trying too hard to convince her of something he wasn't even sure of himself. Does he really love me? Or is he just scared of losing everything? Maya stood up abruptly, the the chair scraping loudly against the floor. "I need space, Nathan. I need time to think." She didn't look at him as she walked away from the table, her footsteps echoing through the quiet restaurant. Nathan stood frozen, watching her go, his hands clenched by his sides, the reality of the situation settling in. He wanted to chase after her to explain everything, but he knew deep down that this wasn't something he could talk his way out of. The damage had already been done. Maya stepped outside into the cool night air, the rush of emotions threatening to overwhelm her. She felt the sting of tears that had been held back for so long. Her breath hitched as the first few tears slipped down her cheeks, but she quickly wiped them away, refusing to let the world see her vulnerability. She leaned against the side of the building, her mind spinning. Where do I go from here? She had trusted Nathan with everything, her heart, her future. And now it felt like it had all been built on a lie. The pain was sharp, but beneath it, there was a quiet voice asking her the most difficult question of all. Could she forgive him? Could she move forward with him? Maya's phone buzzed in her pocket, snapping her out of her thoughts. She pulled it out, her hands shaking as she saw Nathan's name on the screen. He had sent her a message. "Please, Maya, I love you. Don't shut me out. Let's talk. I can fix this." Maya stared at the screen, her heart pounding. She wanted to scream at him, tell him to leave her alone. But instead, she just stood there, lost in the cool night air, unsure of what to do next. Could love really fix this? The final decision. Maya sat by the window, the faint glow of the setting sun casting a soft light across her face. She had spent the last few days in turmoil, replaying the conversation with Sarah over and over in her mind. The revelations about Nathan, his past encounters with Sarah, and the hidden layers of their relationship had left her feeling both betrayed and confused. She had trusted Nathan, believed in their bond, but now everything felt uncertain. Her phone buzzed on the table next to her. It was a message from Nathan. "Can we talk? I've been thinking a lot about us." Maya took a deep breath. She had known this moment would come, the moment when she had to confront the truth and decide whether she could continue living in the shadow of doubt or whether it was time to walk away. She felt the weight of the decision press heavily on her chest. She glanced at the clock. It was already evening. Nathan would be home soon. She had spent so much time avoiding him, trying to clear her head, but now there was no avoiding it. She had to face him, face the truth, and face herself. The door creaked open and Nathan's voice echoed through the hallway. "Maya, are you here?" Maya's heart skipped a beat. She quickly wiped away a tear that had escaped from the corner of her eye and stood up, her legs slightly shaky. She had always imagined this moment would be different, more peaceful, more resolved. But it wasn't. It was raw, emotional, and uncertain. Nathan appeared at the doorway, his eyes searching for hers. He looked tired, his face drawn, but there was a vulnerability in his gaze that made Maya's heart ache. "Maya," he said softly, stepping into the room. "I'm so sorry. I should have told you everything from the start. I didn't mean to hurt you." Maya shook her head, her voice steady, but laced with pain. "No, Nathan. The problem isn't that you didn't tell me everything. It's that you kept things hidden from me. You lied to me about your past, and now I don't know what to believe anymore." Nathan's face hardened, but only for a moment. He took a step closer, his hand outstretched as if to reach for her. "I didn't lie. Maya, I didn't think it mattered. Sarah was from my past a long time ago. She means nothing now. You mean everything to me." Maya crossed her arms, her stance defensive. "Then why did you keep it a secret? Why didn't you tell me about her, about what happened?" Nathan's eyes filled with regret. "I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want you to think that there was anything still between us. I've been trying to move forward with you, but my past keeps haunting me. I should have been honest from the start. I see now how much I've hurt you." Maya felt a mix of anger and sadness welling up inside her. She wanted to believe him, but the trust had been broken. How could she continue to build a future with someone when their pasts were shrouded in secrecy? She turned away, staring out the window, her voice breaking. I trusted you, Nathan. I trusted you with everything. And now, I don't know if I can anymore. I don't know if I can keep pretending that everything's fine when it's not. Nathan took another step forward, his voice desperate. Maya, please don't let this be the end. We've been through so much together, we can fix this. I'll do anything to prove it to you. Maya turned back to him, her eyes filled with tears. I don't know, Nathan. I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I can go back to the way things were. A heavy silence filled the room, the air thick with tension. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Nathan's eyes were pleading, but Maya's heart was torn. She had given him so much of herself, but now she didn't know if she could keep giving when she felt so lost. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I need time, Nathan. I need time to figure out what I want. I need to find myself again, without the doubt and the lies. Nathan nodded slowly, his face filled with sorrow. I understand. I'll give you the time you need. Just know that I love you, and I'll wait for you whatever it takes. Maya turned away from him, walking slowly toward the door. I don't know if I can love you the way I did before, Nathan, but I need to figure that out alone. With that, she stepped out of the room, leaving Nathan standing in the silence, his heart heavy with regret. He knew he had hurt her, and the thought of losing her was unbearable. But for now, all he could do was wait, and hope that someday they could find their way back to each other. As Maya walked away, the weight of her decision settled on her shoulders. It wasn't just about Nathan anymore. It was about her, about what she needed, and what she was willing to forgive. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: she needed to find her own peace before she could ever consider rebuilding what had been broken. And so Maya stood at the crossroads of her heart, unsure of where the road would lead, but determined to walk it alone for now.